morning to all of you. This is Shashikant. Today we guys will be discussing about restriction fragment length polymorphism, which is also called RFLP in short. In this we will start with a question, and in this question we will discuss about the loci of a gene that causes a disease that is linked with the RFLP. So first of all, let me read the question. A research team interested in mapping human genes discovered a new restriction fragment length polymorphism. The nature of the polymorphism is shown in the figure below. So a research team has found a new restriction fragment length polymorphism, and they have diagrammed the situation here. So before going into the diagram, I want you guys to understand a different term, that is SNP. The SNP stands for single nucleotide polymorphism. In the genome, there are some specific sites where we see a change in single base pair. This change in single base pair at different sites on the genome is called SNP, or single nucleotide polymorphism. On an average, two SNPs are separated by around 1000 base pair. Moreover, I want you guys to understand that the difference among the two individuals is usually caused by these SNPs. We know that 99.9% of the genes are similar among two individuals, and the only difference between the genome of two individuals is 0.1%, and this 0.1% is accounted by the SNP which we are talking here. That means the individual differences are caused by these SNPs. So now let's back to the question. We have discussed that SNP is a single nucleotide polymorphism, that is the change in a single base pair at a specific location. Sometime in course of evolution, by chance we find the SNP loci inside the restriction site. I hope you guys understand what the restriction site is. So a restriction site is a group of nucleotide that can be attacked by restriction enzyme, and this enzyme cuts the DNA into two fragments like it is shown here. So the restriction site is GAATTC. So there is a particular restriction enzyme which can identify this restriction site. It can come and bind on this restriction site, and it cuts the restriction site into two DNA fragments. On other hand, there is a single nucleotide polymorphism inside the restriction site. We can see in place of AT there is GC, which means there is a kind of mutation. We don't call it a mutation because this is a natural process. This is what we see in different population of the human being. So this is not exactly a mutation, but this is a change in base pair sequence. So because of the change in the base pair, we can see that this restriction site is now inactive. because the restriction enzyme cannot identify this new restriction site or this changed restriction site. That's why the restriction enzyme won't be able to cut the DNA into two pieces. Now, to visualize the DNA fragment, we need a system. We need a platform where we can visualize these bands or these DNA fragments. So we use a technique called gel electrophoresis. In gel electrophoresis, there is a well where we put the genome after digesting it with the restriction enzyme. Then we run the gel, and after some time we see that the DNA has been separated according to their sizes. For example, here in the gray box you can see this is a DNA bending pattern from the gel electrophoresis. The band on the top is the band with the size longer than the band on the bottom. So this is how the this gel electrophoresis works. The band which is larger in size are left behind because they experience a greater friction while moving through the gel, whereas the band on the bottom experiences the less friction while moving through the band. That's why they are located farther away from the well. Well is located somewhere here where we put the genome after digesting with the restriction enzyme. Now let's understand this DNA binding pattern. Like I said before, when we put the restriction enzyme over the genome which has a restriction site, that restriction enzyme cuts the DNA into two fragments. So we can see the two fragments corresponding to these DNA fragments. So this the first one could be the first DNA band, and the second DNA fragment could be the second DNA band. As we have not been given the size of this DNA fragment, so we are not sure which one is which, but we know that after cutting the DNA with the restriction enzyme, we would be seeing two different bands. Whereas in the second case, which is on the right side of my screen, we can see that there is a single nucleotide base pair change which has made this restriction site inaccessible by the restriction enzyme. So restriction enzyme cannot cut this piece of DNA into two DNA fragments. That's why we should be expecting only a single band of the bigger size. So we can see here, we can only see one band of DNA on the gel electrophoresis. And since this band, this DNA fragment is going to be much larger than these two DNA fragment, so the size of this DNA fragment would be very larger, and thus we would be expecting it very closer to the well, and that's what we are seeing on the gel electrophoresis. We can see that the band corresponding to this big segment of DNA is very closer to the well. So now let's think about another scenario where the individual is heterozygous for the SNP, which means we know that an organism contains a pair of genes for every gene, and because we are diploid, so we have two pair of genes. So in case of heterozygous, the one gene has this SNP, whereas the another gene doesn't have SNP, just like this one. In another word, the heterozygotes have these both combination. Therefore, we should be expecting both type of band here. That is the band, the topmost band comes from this bigger piece of DNA, and these two bottom DNA band comes from the another piece of DNA which has the restriction site. I hope you guys have understood the concept of RFLP here. Now let's move on to the question. Let me read the question first. The question is, first, the researcher tests the RFLP in a family with the pedigree below. There is a pedigree they have shown. The individuals colored in blue are affected by hemophilia, a blood clotting disease. So a researcher has come up with a pedigree analysis for a family where the colored individual, that is son 1 here, has the hemophilia, or he is affected by hemophilia. So the researcher have analyzed the RFLP for each individual of the family, and they have pasted the result below the pedigree. So our question is, we have to find the location of RFLP. In another word, we have to find the location of SNP on the chromosome. We have to tell which chromosome contains the SNP of interest. So here I am using the word SNP of interest because there are a lot of SNP in the genome, but we are interested in a particular SNP that goes along with the disease, hemophilia. So let's start with the father here. The RFLP of the father shows 2 bands. This means that the father doesn't have the SNP marker. Like we have discussed here, when there is a SNP marker, we see only a single band because the site is inaccessible. The restriction site changes and it becomes inaccessible for the restriction enzyme. However, if there is no any SNP, then the restriction site is as usual and it can be attacked by the restriction enzyme, and we would be seeing 2 bands. Now let's switch to the question. Here the RFLP of the father shows 2 band. That means father doesn't contain any SNP of interest, whereas mother shows only 1 band. This means that mother has the SNP of interest, and we are seeing only a single band. This shows that the mother is homozygous for the SNP marker. In other words, both the X chromosome of the mother, or both the homologous chromosome of the mother will carry the SNP. Now in this question we have to find which chromosome SNP belongs to. So first of all, let's assume that what happens if the SNP is present on autosome, like what we should be expecting. First of all, I want you guys to revise that a human being have 2 types of chromosome. First is autosomes and the second is sex chromosome, and there are 23 pairs of chromosome, out of which 22 pairs belongs to autosome and the one pair belongs to sex chromosome. And in the sex chromosome there are again two types of chromosome, that is X chromosome and Y chromosome. So now let's assume that our SNP of interest is located on autosomes. If the SNP of interest is located on the autosomes, then we should be expecting the DNA binding pattern for the daughter and son to be equal, because the autosomes carried by both the daughter and son are more or less same. However, we find that the DNA binding pattern of daughter and son are different. So this tells us that the SNP of interest is not located on autosomes. So this leaves us with sex chromosome. Now there are two types of sex chromosome, X chromosome and Y chromosome. Let's assume that the SNP of interest is located on Y chromosome. We know that the Y chromosome inherited by the son comes from the father. In other words, father and son carry the same Y chromosome. That's why we should be expecting the similar bending pattern for father and son. However, we see that the DNA bending pattern of father is different from DNA bending pattern of son. So this tells us that the SNP of interest is not present on the Y chromosome. Hence, we are left with only X chromosome. So this tells us that the SNP of interest has to be on the X chromosome.